for tuning into the Loser Kid Pinball podcast. I am Josh Roop. With me, my co-captain,
Scott Larson.
And Scott, we have a special episode today. I'm excited for this. This is something new and interesting we've never done before.
Right.
But before we dive into that, let's talk about our sponsor just for a split second.
Okay, we have Zach and Nicole Mini at Flipping Out Pinball. So they've always been really good to me. My friend just got his Godzilla 70. So, I was able to set that up through them. I also was able to help facilitate two people buying the CE Avatar through them. And so they've always been really friendly, really good to work with. And if you're not looking for the new game, they actually have a pretty interesting back catalog of used games that people trade in. And so it just whatever you're looking for, I'm sure they can help you out. Zach and Nicole Mini, Flipping Out Pinball.
Yes. And we're going to move on to our guest right now. This is a duo that is making some waves in the hobby. I've been setting up and noticing ever since they did the Godzilla topper, and it was insanely cool. And it was like, what's Stern going to do to match this? Because this was pretty out of bounds. This was insanely cool. If you haven't heard of the Electric Playground, you need to check them out because they are doing some amazing things. Speaking of which, one thing we're going to talk about today is the new Attack from Mars topper. Before we dive into that, I want to welcome our guests, Alec and Rob. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.
Definitely. Okay, first off, Attack from Mars, the topper on that has been heralded as one of the best ever made, right?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
What made you guys, what convinced you to be like, you know what? Challenge accepted. We're going to one-up this.
I think you'll sense a theme in a lot of how we choose the toppers we want to work on is just games we love. And Attack is one of those games I cannot walk by and not put 50 cents in. It's impossible. No doubt CGC made an amazing topper. We love it ourselves, but we wanted to make something really unique and put our own spin on it. I think the thing that makes ours a little bit different is the interactivity that comes along with it, but we can get all into that when we get into specifics.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, definitely love making toppers for games that we love. I mean, you had it. It was one of your early games.
Oh, yeah.
I remember playing at your house. We also get asked for it a ton. I mean, they made an amazing topper, but everybody that still wants it can't get it.
That's a good point.
It's not always available. That's part of the issue is supply and demand, right? I mean, I have the CGC one because it came with my LE, but definitely there is a limit of sometimes what you want is mainly not available, and so you have to look for alternatives. And actually, sometimes the alternative can be a different slice. So, for example, on my Medieval Madness backlash. I looks like you guys are working with Brian Allen, right? So
not officially yet. This one was with Brad Albright.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead and cut that, Josh.
We love to work with Brian. Bring him up.
But I have some alternative backglasses in some of my games, and it does mix it up. It shows different things.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, with people who have customized their backlash with Brian Allen, and there's maybe some different things that they're looking for in it. So I think that, like Alex said, the interactivity on this is definitely above and beyond what CGC did. So we're hoping if we're not converting people, we're definitely getting those who wanted the topper originally back excited about their game with our topper.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is I don't know that we're going to get many people like you, Scott, to take off that awesome topper and put ours on. But that our topper works with both the original and the remake. Yeah. So there's a lot of people with that original that have wanted to put something on top maybe, and they haven't been able to. And I think ours is kind of like that perfect cherry.
Well, if you haven't checked these toppers out yet, like behind you two, you've got the Big Lebowski, you got the new Attack from Mars, you've got Godzilla, and you did a Twilight Zone, which you were showing off at Expo last year, which was insane. I mean, these are some really cool toppers. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at the Godzilla topper. You've got some screens in that now. What's going on?
Yeah, we did. So we debuted the Godzilla topper at Expo last year. This will be our second Expo. And it was awesome to get the feedback. We ended up getting best mod of the show, which was cool to just get an award for the topper. Clearly it's very different than the Godzilla topper, but when we announced it, we said our ultimate vision was to basically bring 4 screens to that topper. So we released that officially as far as shipping about a month ago. We've shipped about 10 of them so far. It literally has 4 3.2 inch LCD screens on them. There's 5 interactive modes, but you can also customize these screens to whatever you want. So it comes with some amazing artwork. highlighting, collecting the monster monitors, Heat Ray, Destruction Jackpot, Rodan, and then the saucer, which is a saucer that goes up and down. But you can actually replace all that with like classic gifts from the movie, which is really cool. So the feedback's been amazing. And we've also got a black and white one, of course, because everyone's doing black and white stuff now. But there's actually a different paint job for the black and white versus the color.
One of my favorite parts about the business and watching, honestly, Rob's skills grow and everything grow along with it. You know, we concepted what we wanted this topper to be before we had any idea how the hell we were going to do it. But we had to get something out there. So the first version of the topper was an amazing, step up from what we've done, technologically speaking from Twilight Zone. It's a huge leaps and bounds to where Godzilla is.
Yeah.
But where we had to get to make the Conquerors upgrade is even, leaps and bounds beyond that. And we've been able to do this in such a short amount of time. It's kind of blows my mind to see where we are today versus where we started. And I think Attack from Mars is a great example of that too, because we could have made that topper really early on, but we didn't have the skills to really do it justice until where we are in the iteration of the company. So having it be kind of the fourth generation topper, it takes all the lessons learned from topper 1, topper 2, topper 3, and puts it into kind of a complete package to where we are today.
Yeah. And
we've got a bunch of attacks going already. This will be the first time we've released a product where we've got actually 50 ready to go, which is exciting. But lots to talk about on attack, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Definitely. So, okay, Attack from Mars. I know you guys said you're making these because it's games that you love, but this is your first official licensed topper. How did you convince Rick from Planetary Pinball to sign on to this?
Well, I mean, Rick's been great to work with as far as like giving us access to the license. Like in our promo video, we've got a ton of like audio clips and stuff, which we're not actually using on the topper, but he's been kind of opened it up to us. We always wanted to do stuff that was officially licensed. Like we really try to toe the line in terms of how blatantly we use intellectual property that we don't own. So you're not going to see like blatant use of intellectual property on Godzilla. You don't see it on Twilight Zone. You don't see it on Lebowski, but you do see it on Attack from Mars. And because we wanted to get the license, so it was really a timing thing for us to like build some notoriety and some credibility. And also we wanted to go to Rick and be like, hey, we're the real deal. We can make these things. Like it's not just a pipe dream idea. So we've been in touch with Rick for a while now, and this seemed like the right time to kind of make this happen. And also we wanted to be able to build up some inventory. So we've really been able to build our team. We actually just moved into a new space. So this is a new space, like 3 times as big as where we were. So that when we launch this thing, it doesn't take us, 18 months to build them. We want to ship some right away.
We really want to build this the whole business the right way. We're not doing this as like a pipe, like whatever he's flash in the pan. We really want to give the artists the credit where it's due. We want to make sure that they're getting paid what they're worth. We both come from creative backgrounds. We've been on the other side of this. So we want definitely to, pay the artists, what they're worth, but also do, like I said, put our big boy pants and grow the business in the right way and do it. I think that was a big step for us for sure.
Well, so I was just going to say, you chose Brad Albright, which Josh and I have worked with. And Brad's always been great to work with. He did our goat shirt, and he did all the that montage. Shoes. If you get the shoes, like that was from Brad Albright too. So how did you choose Brad? I mean, I know that he's been great to work with for us, but
Brad's an amazing guy. Super easy to talk to.
Yeah.
He's at all the shows. Not that we've been doing this for a real long time. We've done 2 TPFs and now our second expo. But talking him up, I mean, his stuff is amazing. He, along with some other known artists in this space, like just really have this amazing style that works for pinball. And kind of like with Rick, it was like we talked to him for a while and we're like, let's do this, now's the right time. And he was, Attack from Mars, come on, he was definitely ready to jump in. So we kind of worked out the specifics pretty quick and off to the races.
I've decorated my game room and my movie room as pretty much all Brad Albright, so he gets me. We didn't know each other, but we knew each other.
Yeah. It was a broship at first sight, right?
Undoubtedly. To know Brad is to love Brad. It's easy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He is a great guy, and his other stuff. If you guys have not checked out his other stuff, Motorhead and Led Zeppelin, he did these both
Mhm.
as homebrews.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, it was David Peck that had did these,
Yep,
and
yep.
insanely cool. I'll put some pictures in the video. Which, by the way, if you're not watching YouTube, it's fine. You're watching the podcast. It is whatever. But we're trying to do something a little different. So as you're watching and follow along, we're gonna have the picture and the video going along as we talk about it. At least I hope so. If not, well, it is what it is.
At least you see our beautiful faces. Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, this is in my opinion, this is a very competitive price point. You guys are coming at $12.79.
Mhm.
For as toppers go, that's actually pretty good, and you're limiting this to 300. What made you to do both those things?
Yeah, so Twilight we didn't do limited. Lebowski we did limited. We did 100 of those. They went pretty quick. I think like 2 or 3 days, and I really felt like what that did for us as a business is it allowed us to focus on a single product and build it well, optimize margins around some of the materials, which continue to go up in terms of costs and stuff. And we wanted to we want to build this thing. We want to build however many we can sell, and get it out there and move on to the next one. I mean, we've got more ideas with Planetary. We've got more ideas for other games. And also, we want people to know, like, we're going to build this thing for you now. It's not going to drag on. We can get it for you if you want it. And then we're going to move on to the next one. So there's a lot tied up with like choosing to go limited. I know some people don't necessarily love it. But as a business, especially in our current position, like getting the parts, building the thing, and moving on to the next one is really important.
That's it. I think
What's the time frame you're aiming for here?
Yeah, so we're going to have 50 available to ship within 2 to 4 weeks of the initial sale, which will be early in October. And then we're going to move through the 300 if we hit that many, or however many we hit within, by the end of 2025. I'd like to say within 9 to 12 months, is definitely realistic.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
I
didn't
was
mean to
gonna
cut
s-
you off, Alec. What were you
no,
going to
I
say?
was going to say, I think an important point too is, we're consumers just like everybody else, and we see the price of things, and of course, even when we started this business, we are looking at the price of toppers as they were back then and wondering who's paying this. Like, who are these people that are paying $1,000 for these things? And when you come to actually build and really mass produce a product, you quickly learn what goes into actually making something like this, and everything is getting more expensive, but we're still trying to find ways to create toppers at a lesser price point to make them accessible to all people. So we're not, this is where we are with Attack from Mars, but we're, with the next iterate, whatever the next topper is going to be, we're always trying to see if there's a way that we can create an entry point that's more accessible for other people too.
Now, there's also some element of integration, and so that's what I do want to talk about with the Attack from Mars topper. I have some toppers who, I found them off the market that, I got a Simpsons one because obviously back in 2003 they weren't making toppers, so I got one of those, and basically it just lights up. So it's kind of fun. You see it, but that's pretty much it. Now, your topper, you were talking about integration. So tell me about that process because you actually have to take that to a next level where you are connecting it to the game. The topper
Mhm.
has to know what mode you're in, it has to know what is going on with the game. So you really have to figure out how to splice and dice that into the game itself.
Not only that, you're doing this between CGC's models and
Right.
Valley Williams models too,
Both.
where
Yeah.
you're bridging the gap for almost 20 plus years of circuitry.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. I do want to celebrate some of the companies that have recently announced that they're doing more for mod makers. Dutch Pinball with their Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, they're working to open it up so that you can connect directly into it. But we don't have that convenience. There are some ways that you can kind of tap into like the Cat5 cable. They call it like a serial sniffer, where you can kind of like try to infer what's going on. And some platforms like PinSound do that. But what we decided to do, because we didn't want to be reliant on like code updates, possibly bricking our topper for customers, is we wanted to go a little bit more old school with it. So the way our system works is that there's a series of light sensors that you mount in various places throughout the game. And in some cases where that's a little bit of a tighter area, we actually build an entire harness that sits behind one of the boards in a game. So for with Godzilla, there's actually about 12 sensors of light that then gets processed by our own central computer on the topper. And then we do a light show based on which of those lights are on or are off. And there's combinations of those that allow us to know different situations and different modes happening in the game. But essentially, you're running a node board that comes with our topper underneath the playfield. It's connected to the topper via Cat5 cable and Ethernet cable. And then that node board has a bunch of sensors that kind of spider out into the game and pick up that light. So in the case of attack, we wanted to make it a little simpler than Godzilla because Godzilla has a lot of them. So there's only, I think, 6 sensors on attack. The topper is going to take you probably 45 minutes to install. It's not like a Stern where you just plug it in and it goes. But at the end of the day, it does do all the things that you would want a topper to do in the modern age, different than like the Simpsons game you were talking about, where we've got about 8 different light shows that play out on attack. And of course, we've got some articulation in the alien that shakes. So all those things kind of happen through this not proprietary platform, but a platform that we've developed that we're now reusing across each topper that we release.
Yeah. But without making any like major modifications to the game, like
no cutting, no splicing, no soldering of any kind. Like we really do want to focus on making it easy, but at the end of the day, we are picking up a lot of information through these light sensors.
Well, and I like how you guys have taken Attack from Mars and you've taken some of the biggest moments from that game and somehow fit it all into one topper, right? Like, if you've seen, I don't know exactly how it's going to work if you guys are releasing the video before we release this or whatnot, but if you guys have seen this video, it's insanely cool. Like the Big O beam, like you've got spots on the sides where they're sucking up the cow and the chicken because they've turned them big, and you've got extra ball. The whole thing's flashing orange, and that's the thing about the original CGC topper that was made was the articulation. It tied into like it was kind of harassing you, right? Well, you guys have a spaceship and an alien on here. They're both articulating and harassing you. So it's like you've just kind of taken it to like level 11 or not.
Yeah. We talked about price earlier. I mean, to be able to build movement and, kinesthetic things into a topper, it does require a lot of prototyping and then building out. So like we're trying to always have something that's highly interactive in the game. I mean, with the Twilight Zone, we had the ball like literally going around a habit trail. So we try to pull that in. So with Godzilla, you have a raising thing. With Attack, you've got movement. We didn't have movement in Lebowski, but we also wanted to make that kind of an art piece. So that kind of has its own kind of artistic style to it. But yeah, movement is awesome to have, and it's not easy to do for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy when you pick games you love. You just want to design it to be like you said, kind of that homage to the title.
Yeah.
Attack from Mars is like the game I grew up on. It's the first game I played that it made me love pinball. I can't talk enough about it. My dad used to put me down on a bar stool when he was playing his band jobs, and that was the game I got to play. And it's the first one where pinball made sense to me. There was a mission, destroy the saucer. It just finally clicked in my head of what I was doing, and I got the bug ever since. So yeah, being able to do something for Attack has always been kind of a dream or whatever.
You also took it to integrating some of the rarer modes. Like I noticed you even connected it to the video mode, which I've been playing. I have Attack from Mars, and I've been playing it, and there are times when I totally forget there's a video mode in it because it's not that common. It doesn't come up that often.
That's like a guaranteed extra ball. Like, how do you not that's always part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Paint the side to side, baby. Just paint side to side.
Yeah, we like to. I mean, we love pinball. We're deep players. Like we don't have huge collections, 4 or 5 machines. So when we have machines, we go deep on them, and we certainly like to celebrate those moments. So those are a little bit of icing on the cake for those that are, looking to really get excited about the game again too. It's like, hey, pick up our topper and see this cool light show and remember, why you love this game.
I remember though, I was like this years old whenever like someone finally taught me that if you hit that start button, you get like one free, like swipe the screen on the video mode. I didn't know about that when I owned the game.
Okay, I didn't know that until right now.
Yeah, you get one freebie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what they're talking about, if you're in video mode and as the saucers are coming down, if you feel like you're too much, like you're someone's going
Yeah.
to touch down, you press the start button or the launch button, and it wipes the whole
Clears
screen.
them all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a combination of Missile Command and Space Invaders. That's kind
I
of
love
how
it.
it seems like it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool. That's
Have
cool.
you seen the cow mode?
I don't think I have. What's the cow
Yeah.
mode?
So there's a way. I don't know exactly how you get it to go, but there's a way to instead of whatever they're dropping instead of saucers dropping, they're cows, and every
Oh,
time the
wow.
cow drops, it moves. So like there's a video mode, but it's cow mode.
Okay,
But
so
you
there's
got to do
got to be
something in
someone
the
out there.
game to
There's
get into
someone out
cow
there
mode.
who knows how to do cow mode. Let me
I've
know.
only seen it one time, but yeah.
Where's Bo and Karen's? Because I guarantee
Yes.
that and the pop-up
Oh.
people, because the bullfrog, the WB frog, hello my hey, that one's in Indiana Jones.
Hello, my
So if you take
baby.
a certain path through the tunnels, it actually pops you out to the bullfrog instead of Anyhow,
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I love those
I-
little Easter eggs.
Yeah, I
them.
love the Easter eggs. I'm not sure that I have the talent to get consistently the Easter eggs.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them. There's like
Yeah.
a dirty pool thing on attack. There's a bunch of
dirty pool. So if
Yeah.
you get the ball behind the attack target and then you shoot it in,
Then you
Yeah.
get bumped in.
yeah, and also you have strobe light multi-ball, which I've had the game for 8 years and I think I've had it like 5 to 10 times.
This is making me so sad. Like I feel like we need to move on. Like,
okay.
I don't even know how that's possible.
No, but it's just kind of funny. Like, it's to be. I also rotate from games to games, so I've been playing a lot of Cactus Canyon, been playing a lot of Godzilla, and I was just back on Attack from Mars, which I haven't played in a while. So that's part of the problem of having a lot of games is that you find a hard time of sticking with one, and so that's probably because my rules knowledge is not as deep as it would be if you only had 5 games because you would know them very well. But
Well, they're both in Stroke of Luck, which is the mystery. Just got to get deep into those, and you'll find both the video mode and Strobe, which we have modes in our topper for that. So definitely check those out.
The thing that I love, and I think everyone loves this, the late great Lyman knew when you were close to something, he was willing to give it to you via Stroke of Luck on Attack from Mars. And I think it's brilliant because it's like, I really need this. Like,
I need it.
Yeah. It always seemed to be there in Stroke of Luck, and it was willing to give it to you. I was like
Mario Kart, you're in 8th place. It
blue
gives you that
shell, yeah.
It was just wonderful. I mean, it's what made Lyman great. Is like he knew what the player wanted or needed at that moment, and it was like, boom, here you go.
Yeah.
So,
cows from heaven, not manna. Cows from heaven.
cows from heaven. So I've got on here. There's some people like me who don't have a tall enough basement. Well, I guess mine's tall enough to have toppers, but like I saw, I think her name was Jamie Marie, one of our listeners. They cut out the ceiling just so they could have the labyrinth topper, but they like built into the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, they finished the basement around it. Yeah,
Yeah. The thumbs up came back.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to see how that when they list that house for sale. Like, I want to just see
what's that one spot right there?
Oh, okay, now Vic did the same thing. Well, he didn't cut a hole in the ceiling, but because he had the Godfather and he couldn't put the topper, didn't he put it on the side?
I think so.
Yeah.
So on this topper, you can adjust the height. So the overall height's 12 inches, but you can go down to 10 and a half and it's 24 wide. How do you get to adjust? I'm slightly confused.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, we didn't plan around it, but obviously this making toppers, you've got this issue that comes up a lot. So whenever you get it, the alien's mounted on the back and there's actually like 4 holes. So it's a pretty typical system where you're just moving it down notches based on the height of your basement. But yeah, I mean, we put a lot of thought into this, both on the installation side and on the product itself. And this was one where it was clear we could do it, so we did it. So yeah, it goes down a little bit if you're tight on headroom.
We only need that 1/4 of an inch. I can adjust it right here. Yes. Okay, so this is going to be available. Well,
how do they get it? How do they get it?
Yeah.
This will be available on October 9th, which is a week from the start of Expo. We're going to be having it at Expo. But on the 9th, you're going to be able to go to our website. You're going to be able to put down a deposit of just $100. That gets you your official spot. We're going to fulfill orders based on, how the orders come in. We've got about 50 ready to go, or well, technically we have exactly 50 ready to go within the first 2 to 4 weeks of your order. Once it's ready to ship, we'll send you a payment link to complete the full payment, and you'll have it. So yeah, this is unlike other toppers. We've got a bunch in motion, and then for the rest of them, we'll be working on them throughout 2024 and into 2025, and hopefully have most of them out by mid 2025.
And say that website again. Where do we go to order this?
Yeah, so the toppers at TEP Pinball, so TEP, the Electric Playground Pinball.com, TEPpinball.com. That's the exclusive place to get it. So on our website.
Perfect. Looking over some of the stuff too, one of the coolest modes that is in this game is strobe multi-ball.
Mm-hmm.
When you get this going, it's nervous to finish,
especially in a dark room. Especially in a dark room. Yeah.
And watching the video coordinating with this mode is insanely cool. I'm assuming the whole room, if you've got a dark room, it's going to turn into a disco ball all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Was it just one of these things like it's a must-have to do with the topper? How'd you do that?
It was like we can make it flash. Sorry if you have epilepsy with this one, because this one's not going to help. But this one was actually kind of interesting to get to work too, because like again, we don't know the data on the system, so there's two unique situations with the lighting for both strobe and video mode. With strobe, only the lights in front of the attack wave, which is that thing that goes up and down, is lit, and then no other lights are on. So we basically are looking at capture one, which is one of the orbit lights. If we see that's off, but we see the lights in front of the up and down thing is on, we know you're in strobe multi-ball. That's the only time that the lights are set up that way. And then we make the topper flash like in sequence with the light that is underneath the UFO. So you're definitely adding to the effect. We've had a couple of people actually say like, "Hey, you're lighting up my playfield a tiny bit more." So I appreciate that. I can actually see a little bit better. But it's a cool mode, and it certainly is way more impactful with the topper.
It's another one of those give me an extra ball mode. If you can do it right, you can get that extra ball.
Yeah, 10 hits on that bar in the front, and you've got an extra ball. So definitely, Scott, don't skip over that one.
All right, no, sounds good.
One of my favorite moments ever in a pinball tournament, we were playing Attack from Mars, and I lined up all the shots, and I did the big billion hurry up. For those that don't know, the ramps and the orbits, if you hit them so many times as you're stacking them up, every time you hit that final shot, it starts that like big O beam. Yeah. And you hit it and it gives you like 100,000 points. But if you're able to stack the 4 modes, or the 4 or 5, and you successfully hit each shot as each one's running, you start up a billion hurry up. It's an insanely cool little Easter egg. And I was able to do this in a pinball tournament. And the person behind me, I did it. And obviously all of a sudden I went straight to first because I just got a billion points. And then my ball, I'm feeling like King Kong on steroids, right? And I walk away from the machine, and one of the competitors like, "What the heck did you just do?
What did you do? Yeah.
What's the big bill? It's the big bill and hurry up." And he's like, "Okay, walk me through this." I'm like, "Sure." Anywho, yeah. This game is it's so great for so many reasons. Now I'm wishing I had a limited edition. Why did I say that, Scott?
It's funny you bring it. So we had a lot of fun with our promo video in terms of like bringing in audio. I downloaded like the ROM and I extracted it and like got all the audio. There's a ton of stuff in there that I don't think ever made it into the game. But there is one where the alien goes 5 billion, and I don't even know what that is tied to, but apparently there's a 5 billion call out as well. So that's a super deep one, but
I don't know what that would be.
Maybe it never made it in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, they did have it in, and then the code was just like everyone's just going to go for that. This is all this is going to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like in Bride of Pinball, everyone goes for the billion shot, and it's like that's the thing you do with that game. That's what it's known for. So.
Okay, so I want you to walk me through constructing your topper. Like, how do you go about and saying, "Hey, there's a lot of toppers, some of them better than others, and some of them you can see behind me that are better than others." But you can actually see like what goes into it to say, you know what, people, if they're going to spend, X amount of money. So if it's 500, if it's 1,000, if it's 1,200, 1,300, what is it about the topper that you want to bring to the environment, to the game experience?
Man, that's a great question. I mean, we've kind of dove at this into different ways, and we usually prepare ourselves to answer this question because there is a lot. Where do you want to start?
When you look at how we started, we literally started with the games that we owned, right? So Twilight was a game that I owned. Is again just one of my favorite games ever, but we had access to it. So we were looking at it and thinking, what if, if we were to design something, what could we do to make it really cool and unique? And that whole idea came from just sitting in my basement, staring at the top of that game and staring at the play field. Godzilla kind of happened because Godzilla is Godzilla. It is the most popular game. It's just absolutely blowing down doors. We both owned it. We loved it. We got sick of waiting to see what Stern was going to do, and we wanted to make something for ourselves. And then came up with a really cool concept that kind of took on a life of its own. Lebowski is just, it's one of the greatest themed games of all time, and we both love the movie. So wanted to pay an homage to that. Attack, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the markets for the games, right? Like, how much is the game moving is important, right? Like, you want to pick a game that people are excited about in general, because therefore that's going to translate to them being excited about the topper. And then we try to create, we don't use the term topper moments, but we try to create, the pinball moments of toppers. So like now it's less, of course, about what games we own, and it's more about like, how much does the market care about the game in whatever capacity that is. So like with Lebowski, it was obvious. We were kind of nervous about that one because of the volume. So we do look at volume pretty closely. Like that obviously hit the mark for Attack. We look at the options. So with Twilight, there were no like well-known options, so that was easy. We also don't probably we're probably not going to try to compete with Stern's toppers too much going forward. I mean, it's just like really tough to compete with like having a mode, the simplicity of install, that type of thing. I mean, we get asked about Jaws like all the time, right? Because that one kind of is underwhelming.
I
But
guarantee you could make a more impressive one. I guess I'll put it
we
that way.
could, but it's like, how many people are really going to move on it after, getting what they have? We kind of got that with Godzilla a little bit. I mean, I think we thought, there would be just like way more interest than what we've done a ton of them. I think the Conquer upgrade is going to go a long way, but it's like what we heard over and over again is like, I love your stuff. I love my Twilight Zone. I love my Lebowski, but I've already got the Stern topper. Like, so we look at a lot of different factors, but I think the most important one is like, how can we create a really cool moment with it?
Yeah.
And then if we can tie those two things together, the business and the idea, then we're off to the races.
There's been plenty of times where, again, to my earlier comment, where our skills kind of evolved over the course of the business, and now that we know what we know now, what moments could we create? And then you start thinking about, okay, what games lend themselves to that type of moment. So Twilight Zone's got the ball rolling around. Obviously, it'd be really easy to make the ball a boulder, and Indiana Jones could all of a sudden come into mix. Like a lot of people have always said, like, why don't you just do the same thing for Indiana Jones? But we don't want to be like the do the same thing over and over again and be a one trick pony. Like that's we don't want to be the topper guys that just have the ball rolling around. That's not the goal, right? But we know how to make that type of interactivity. Is there a way to make it unique for something, a game like Indy or whatever, and allow that moment to shine? Then that's kind of like something that we think about as well, of course.
Well, on the notes you sent over, speaking of these different titles that you've been speaking about, you have on here that you're going to be doing more licensed series toppers. Can you give us a little more insight in that? Maybe how many toppers you're doing, or
Yeah.
it's all going to be?
I mean, we haven't firmed up a specific plan yet. We actually are doing another topper that we're announcing at Expo. It's actually going to be the first commercially available interactive EM topper. So we are doing another pinball topper with Planetary here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That'll be announced. That's going to be a lower price point, so we're excited about bringing something different to the market. But getting back to the kind of mainstream, Bally Williams titles, we're of course going to be looking closely at what they did with CGC, because those are the titles people want. You got a bunch of other games with really good toppers. And you've got a bunch of games that are being possibly remade or being entered in the pipeline for the first time. So we're looking at all of those. We're looking closely at like what Brian Allen has done, looking at like why he made some of the decisions he made and how to augment that experience for people where they've really taken their game like up a notch in a couple of different levels and tap into that type of buyer. Because at the end of the day, like not everybody's into mods, certainly not everybody's into toppers, and we need to be mindful of like why they're doing things to their game and really give them, you know, what they're looking for. So we're definitely going to be doing more planetary stuff in the mainstream market. Just haven't really decided exactly which one yet.
And we are a company of the people. So come to us, please. Come to the booth at Expo. Talk to us. Like if you want to see something, we would love to talk to you about it and explain to us why that should be our next topper.
Yeah, I mean, what do you guys have any recommendations like among these titles? Because we're certainly like curious what people think they would like to see.
Well, I can just off the top of my head, I think of the ones that have great toppers already, right?
Yeah.
But I guarantee there's something you could do with something like Whitewater.
Okay.
Where you could definitely, I mean, it has the cool effect, but there's a lot of those you can't get at all. And there's a lot of people who are looking at, okay, what else could we do with Whitewater? Whitewater is such a great game that would be my suggestion is to consider how to do that. Okay. Okay. I'll put it this way. And this is actually what we were getting down with on current companies that are releasing things. What makes a great game? Because a lot of times it's just whatever connection people have, whatever experience people have when playing it. Some people, a great game means a competitive layout, balanced scoring, and something tournament ready. Well, there's a lot of games that don't fit that category that people still like having in their house. And so what is it about that makes them fun and be able to keep them around?
Yeah, you know, Whitewater's an interesting one. We've talked about Atoms quite a bit, you know, which obviously tons of those toppers out there. It came with the topper. It would be an interesting business decision to try to compete with that. But I mean, imagine if we took the house to another level where it's almost like a cuckoo clock and like interactive things are happening in the windows. And it's a $5,000 topper is where I'm getting at. No, but I mean, like, you know, we have a lot of fun with like all these ideas. We have to think about licensing, even in the case with working with Planetary. Like, we can't, with Monster Bash, we have to work around all the different characters. Atoms is probably going to be very difficult to do, even with the license. Whitewater is cool. I mean, in the sense of it's open from a licensing perspective. In terms of a third party license, it would really come down to like, how can we tie a moment in the gameplay? So we would, if we did pursue that one, we'd probably sit down with someone like you, Scott, and be like, hey, like, what do you get excited about achieving in that game? And then how can we augment that? And then is that special enough to build a topper for?
Yeah.
So I think the one that comes to my mind, and maybe it's because I've owned it for the last decade, is World Cup Soccer. And I know, like, from a third party standpoint, like FIFA is a pain in the butt to deal with, but just some of the moments in that game when you score a goal, if you have you know, the giant TV over the stands, it doesn't have to be like the topper itself, but in the corner, if it just did goal on the back, they have fireworks incorporated in that thing. If you can make it look like fireworks, like, I know you're not going to have like actual fireworks going off, but if you could do plastics with the lights trailing up so it looks like they're fireworks going off, you know, a little crowd articulating every time you make a goal, they pop up and they cheer, you know, just stuff like that. Just,
you almost make it like you're looking in on the stadium, you know, like the jumbotrons in there, and you can make the characters kind of come to life.
And that one we wouldn't really need to work with FIFA. You know, it's like with Atoms, it's like, okay, you got to do some things to make it an Atom stopper. But with like World Cup, you wouldn't have to you don't have to have the dog up there, you know, for example. So yeah, I like that one. I mean, that was my attack for you. You know, you said attack, like that game was the one where it was like, okay, I get this. I'm scoring goals. I'm a kid, and pinball is awesome. So certainly have a soft spot for that one.
Well, even
Well-
like Tim Kitzrow would probably even still be up for doing some more call outs, because you said you did more like you did sound clips for the topper for Attack of
Well,
the
that
North.
was for the promo video, so there's nothing
Oh,
in the
gotcha.
topper, just to be clear. But there's a ton of great sounds, and we have talked about, for some even classic EM games, we're not doing that, but like, how could you possibly build some sound stuff into it? We still want to build a topper with some smoke, one way or another. we
Wow.
get some cool stuff in there.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Okay, so here's what I did. I just pulled up Pinside Top 100 and just
Yeah.
going down and seeing
Let's
the
do it.
games that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of focus on games that are, maybe the DMD, like pre 2010.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at games that I'm like, how could that take it to the next level? Okay, Lord of the Rings. One.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
don't start.
Okay, I know there's a lot of options, but there's also a lot of fantasy options that you could dance
Well,
around and
we react that
incorporate.
way because we've got an idea
Oh,
already that we're
okay.
going to build at some point. I think it's pretty over the top, and
Okay.
it's we actually so we do a lot of collaborating with other mod makers. I'll give a shout out to Jimmy Lifeham with 86 Pixels, who builds. They did the screen for the back box of Twilight Zone.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking
Okay.
about?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah.
Pinvision. Is it called Pinvision?
Think so.
Okay, it may be called Pinvision. So anyway, he made this like screen that sits in the back box of Twilight Zone, and he may have done it for another, and it's really cool because it shows like different modes. And shout out to him. He spent a ton of time on the White Star system, which is for Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
because we want to do some stuff with like Jackpot 1, Jackpot 2, Jackpot 3, because that's like a huge moment in that game. And we want to know that that's happening, and that's a difficult piece of information to know is happening in that game. So with Lord of the Rings, for example, it's like we know what we want to do. Now we got to figure out how to do it, and we've just got to kind of spend some time with him to kind of get there. But that's the type of game where we do like targeting that because we know people take that game really far, right? Like we want to that would be one of my issues with World Cup is like how many people out there are really taking that game to the ultimate destination, its ultimate self, because we need a lot of people doing that from a business perspective to build a top.
You're saying buy the game, mod it, like
who's doing that for what games? Because they're
gotcha.
not doing it for
Yeah.
World Cup.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Circus Voltaire, I'll talk about it a little bit because it is on our radar. Like people do that with Circus Voltaire. Like it is an amazing title for a lot of different reasons. People
It's
invest
really
money
pretty.
into it.
If you put the LED option in the back box, it
Yeah.
looks really good.
Yeah.
It's
So
really
that's one to where like the volume wasn't crazy high, but the
Mhm.
passion is there.
Yep.
And it seems like an easier choice. And they're not going to remake it. I wouldn't think. Maybe, I don't know. They made Funhouse, but
Yeah.
that would be a factor too, because we also like even with like thinking about doing something for Medieval Madness, like they're going to
Yep.
re-release that game and they're going to make those toppers. Like we don't need to compete with that, you know.
Right. But there's also like Tales of the Arabian Nights. There's a lot of really good
Tales,
options there.
Theater of Magic.
Theater of Magic.
Yep. Keep going
let's
down
see.
your list. You'll get
Okay,
to those.
Weird stuff.
Yeah, let's see. Other things that popped up. I mean, you could even throw up like ACDC because ACDC didn't have a lot of great options.
Yeah.
I know you'd have to deal with licensing in the band, but you could also you could do a lot of hell themed on that. Okay, Simpsons again. That would be kind of fun.
Simpsons would be cool. Yeah, that'd be tough.
Tron doesn't have a lot of options, but you could do things. Again, I know you're dealing with Disney, you're dealing with that kind of stuff, but that is a game that if it's, I actually had one of the prettiest Trons out there that was custom modded, and it was amazing. And so like someone who's really into Tron, they would definitely do that.
Well, in that game, I swear that game's probably the top modded game of all time. They just
could be, yeah.
It just there's so many different mods for it, and everyone has to have the.
I didn't realize.
bike
I mean,
trope.
that's interesting because like obviously Twilight and Godzilla would be thrown into that comment, but you would put Tron there too. That's good to know.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the topper, if you did the light cycle races where it's just literally the topper is just like doing almost like that centipede game where the lights are following each other and it's kind of building itself.
And if
out
we
of
did
the town.
Tron, it would have to be like over the top.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Hot
like
to
the
chrome.
challenge.
Hot to
Yeah.
chrome.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, now we're kind of getting into like some other stuff. Funhouse again. They're doing
Whirlwind.
stuff.
Everyone always Whirlwind's like
Yeah.
a darling,
Hey,
right? Everyone
Whirlwind
wants.
put a leaf blower up there and just blow their hair back. It's
They're gonna put one of those fans you put on your floor when you got to dry it out. That's what they're gonna put as their topper, right? It's like,
Yeah. It's gonna be. We're gonna do 3 fans. It's gonna
or
be
underneath, so it like blows your legs. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I getaway I guess you're kind of getting down into the weeds here. Hey, Flash Gordon,
Getaway
that'd
could be
kind
a
of
good
fun
one too. Just
Getaway
because
could be a fun one. Yeah.
the siren was a thing, right? But it's like if you could tape that to the next level, I think
Not
people
even
would.
donut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is there a deeper title that we've considered that would surprise these guys? I'm trying to think.
A deep root title. Well,
Deeper?
not
No,
deep-
no,
no, no.
a deeper
yeah, I
title.
was like a deep root
in the
title.
list.
Did they make any? Yeah.
No.
They were on the Raza
How about
originally.
how about the evaporating money topper where you just pay for it and you never
Dracula
get
would
it?
be a great example of a deeper
Yeah.
title that we
Yeah.
would love.
Bram
to
Stoker's
do something for.
Dracula.
You know, I
And
mean,
that
like,
one's definitely modded a lot too.
yeah,
I mean, when you put a game in an actual casket,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
We had some good ideas for TNA.
Yeah.
I can see that.
We
Yep.
never made that.
that would be cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there.
we did a panel at Expo and bounced around a bunch of ideas. I think that indie comes up a ton.
Oh, Ghostbusters. We got real far
Ghostbusters.
on.
Yeah. Well, you look at the toppers that I would say significantly underperformed. You can put Ghostbusters up there. You can definitely put um, Star Wars. And there's like a billion better mods than having like R2D2 up there.
I will say, hands down, our number one request is Monster Bash, and I think that kind of played into our decision to do Attack, because it's like if that many people want that topper and they had it available to them, like clearly they didn't hit enough with their toppers for their games. So
No, and they didn't. And the difference between that one and Attack from Mars, like there's some articulation. So you got into it with articulation, something that connects with it. With the Monster Bash one, it's okay. I could probably make a similar one by buying some dolls and gluing them up there. And it's so there's not enough connection with the game to make it worth a lot of money.
That's why I'm saying Medieval Madness would still be fine because
that's true.
It's a great topper, but it's just it sets just like Monster Bash. It's some sculpts that set there, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like it does great, but I think if you took it to the next level, people.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like replicating the castle up top and making that articulate. I think it'd be a hit for sure.
I think we look at the sculpts and every from the CGCs and of course we love the molded pieces as much as anybody else, but I think we look at the toppers more as a light show as much as it is the molds and sculpts themselves, right? So what's it going to look like in your arcade room? And I think a lot of our business is really built around like how can we make people's game rooms more more personable to themselves, like how can you mod your game room just like you can mod your game, right? So the light show that comes off Attack from Mars, if you play in a dark setting, which I do, but if you play in a dark setting, that thing just takes things to another level, like we're talking about with the strobe multi-ball when the topper's going off with it. It takes it up just a whole nother notch. And you might have an epileptic seizure, but it's worth it.
The other game that really gets modded a lot is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we definitely spent some time talking about that one. Not idea wise, but just like getting that on the radar. I mean, it's so loved. We're big mod guys. I mean, we do pin sound on a bunch of our games, and we take it various degrees when we have the time. Alec has a T2 that is hands down like the baddest ass T2 I've ever seen. And it's like the amount he's put into that. So yeah, Creature is right there, right? It's like people put a lot of time into that one, so that would be a good fit.
Yeah, we've owned that game in my family's history, I should say. I haven't owned it, my brother did, but spent a lot of time on it. I was happy when he got rid of it.
Yeah.
Not my favorite game.
Eventually, you're like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
how
I
long have
don't
you
need
guys
to go
been
that far anymore.
doing this? Like, everybody tells their pinball origin story. So,
Yeah.
like, how long have you guys been really interested in pinball? When did you start getting the bug for modding? And when did you say, you know what, we can take it to the next level and actually start making things to sell?
Yeah, you want me to take this one, or you want to start it off
You
with a
start it.
comment? All
No,
right,
you
yeah,
can
it's
start
kind of interesting one. I mean, well, I've been in the hobby off and on for a while. Alex been really into it for longer than I am of recent. I used to go over to his house and kind of joke about how he would have these amazing machines. I think you had like X-Men, which was like 5 or 6K, and then you had Lord of the Rings, and he would put like a couple $1,000s worth of stuff into it, and I'd be like, it doesn't make any sense to me why this needs more stuff. It's already freaking amazing. And then I got a Medieval Madness standard CGC and like
Mhm.
turned it into a royal, and
Yeah.
I was hooked. You know, I was like, oh my god, it's so much better, and I had so much fun doing it. Right, like that
And you
was
did the lights underneath because, man, that was a pain. That was like a 6
oh, those are
hour.
brutal.
Oh my
Those are
gosh, that
brutal.
was
Yeah, I
painful.
still have that harness because it's just like it was so difficult to get out of
They
there.
were undercab lights.
Well, it basically the standard version didn't come with the RGB lights, so you had to take out all the. Is that what you're talking about,
Yeah,
Scott?
yeah. So I did exactly the same thing. I bought the standard, and so I got the
It
the
didn't have RGB
topper, and I
lighting.
got
So you had to take out this crazy ass GI line that goes throughout their entire thing and replace it with a replacement GI line. So big screen on that. So anyway, we got both got our Godzilla on the same day,
Mhm.
premiums. It was about 12 months into the run,
Okay,
and
here's a quick question though.
yeah,
On your on your speaker light panel, do
uh-huh.
yours change color, or do they just have one color?
Just one color.
Okay,
That is the
'cause
non-royalness of my royal.
okay, you can actually do it so it can change color, and I
Yeah.
did it.
Well,
So
I don't have it anymore. I
oh,
sold it to
okay. Yeah,
make another topper.
you could have done it. It was kind of fun. I was able to figure out how to do that, but yeah.
There's a very unique story about my Medieval Madness. It's not appropriate for this conversation, but I'll have to tell you about it at some point.
Well,
Um,
Expo's coming up.
yeah, yeah. So some people
Yeah.
out there might
Sign
know
up to
about
the
it.
Patreon and you can get
Yeah,
exclusive
yeah,
access. Yeah.
exactly. But anyway, we got our Godzilla on the same day. We joked about who was taking which one. Alec ended up having a major playfield issue with his Godzilla.
I got the turd out of the tube.
It shipped right below the MagnaSave, so like it literally like started coming apart.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
So now he's got now he's got a playfield that'll never get installed, right?
No, I got a playfield mounted on my wall I never used.
Mhm.
We fixed the playfield. Rob and I were able to actually fix the playfield itself.
Yes,
oh, nice.
it was fixed, and he got a playfield out of it. But anyway, yeah. So like, I come from the toy space, so I done a ton of prototyping with like toys as part of another business. Alec and I used to work together. We're good friends now, and we're both into the hobby. Got these machines, and there was no timetable for the Godzilla topper, so I was like, I'm going to make something. He made one too. It wasn't nearly as cool what I ended up making, which was layered plastic that originally was based on a photograph of the side of the premium cabinet. And ultimately, I wasn't happy with like the color density of the photograph, so I ended up hiring an artist to like recreate the side cabinet artwork for Godzilla. And I made it, and it looked fantastic. I mean, it's basically the layout of the premium cabinet, and Alec was like, I want one because my like ass toys on top of my not so great toys on top of my Godzilla. So we ended up like getting that information out there, and we ended up selling a handful of these things because it was pretty expensive to make, and that was prior to like officially forming the company. So that was not compliant with licensing in
So
any way, shape, or
this was
form.
basically homebrew. This is like a
It was a
fan, like,
homebrew
yeah, it was you
topper
just doing
that,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, the people, I mean, that we made less than, I think we made like 25 of them. You can see them pop up on Pinside every once in a while. Uh, and we decided to do this, you know, in that capacity. And then eventually, we, Alec challenged me to make the most packed pinball machine in pinball, Twilight Zone, a topper that would do that justice. And that's kind of how we went off to the races, was making that topper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd never seen anything in the market that I felt like really was worthy of Twilight Zone. There, people were taking that thing off the slot machines, and that was kind of like the biggest, like the coolest topper that became the unobtainium thing. But these things are selling for like $2,000-$3,000, and even then, I didn't understand it. It just didn't make sense to me for the price point. And when we were in that basement, just staring at the game, like what's the best moments of this game? Like we kind of just mapped out what our favorite parts of that game were, and then of course, like wouldn't it be cool if what if the gumball actually had a gumball come out? Like what if we were actually able to make this thing go around? And then that just kind of like pushed things to another level.
So we launched that at TPF 2022.
22, yeah.
We kind of got things ready. We took it to the show. We started to reach out to media. Kerry Hardy ended up doing our install video for us. I used to think Kerry was the creator of Pin Stadiums because I would watch this video of him installing Pin Stadiums. Like, oh, that's the guy that made Pin Stadium. So I learned that he did install videos as part of his content. And it was universally praised from the beginning. I mean, despite being $1,600, which is crazy amount of money to spend on a topper, like people were like, I'm rebuying Twilight Zone because I want this topper. Yeah. And that was, of course, for entering the hobby brand new and fresh. That was the ultimate compliment for sure.
That is.
Yeah,
that's
to answer
awesome.
your question, that's actually my origin story. Is I've rebought Twilight Zone because I saw was American Pinball's black and white version that they made.
Yeah, that was cool, right?
I didn't realize you could do something like that. And I'm like, well, now I need to go buy that again. So it was right when COVID started. We just had time on our hands, and I was able to source a game right before the prices all went up, and had an awesome project.
Awesome. Yeah. Man, I'm excited for this topper. This Attack from Mars topper is insanely cool. If you're going to Pinball Expo, you need to check it out. So Joel reminded me when you guys did TPF this year, you had a peephole at your booth, so you could kind of see what the next little secret was coming. Are you going to have something like that at the booth this year for Expo?
I do remember Joel coming by. We did a little highlight reel, and I think I mistyped his last name. So Joel, I apologize for writing your last name wrong. But he was super excited about it. We had a peephole so people could get a little glimpse at it. We do not have that at this show, but we are going to be revealing another topper, as I mentioned. We're going to have a homebrew section within our booth. So we're going to have Brad, I forget his last name, but we're going to have Friday the 13th in our booth. Which is a huge title. It won Best of Show at TPF. And then we're going to have another title from a St. Louis homebrew guy who's brand new to the scene. And this thing is crazy. Oh, yeah, you're going to love it. So we got a 10 by 30 booth. Thank you, Rob Burke, for hooking us up. We got a homebrew section. Then we're going to have Attack and this new topper. And then we're going to have our color Godzilla topper and our black and white Godzilla topper. So we're going to have both those on display with the screens at Expo.
Nice.
I will say that peephole thing, that was my favorite part of TPF. Just watching the people have to bend over, and some people that literally probably haven't bent over and like got down on one knee in like maybe 30 years, try to get down to watch, see what the heck they were looking at. Everyone thought they were going to be getting an eyeful of something else. And then when they actually saw there was like an actual topper, we weren't trying to just like, pull a joke on them. That was my favorite. That was my favorite part of the show, and that was his brainchild. So.
Yeah, it's on Instagram. Go back to March for the Electric Playground. You'll probably see Kerry Hardy with a big cheese on his face when he sees what's inside that hole.
When you're chained to a booth and you got to just sit there for hours, you need entertainment. I can only play so many games of Twilight Zone and Godzilla, right? So that peephole gave me so much just relief. Like just watch this. I'd encourage everybody that was like, "Hey, you need to come look at our peephole." It was called the glory hole by the end of it. But
wow, yeah. That's a little different context. Okay, so legit, I have a Twilight Zone, and I do have like a pyramid on top. But dang, your one looks so good. It's that looks like something I would do it. Yeah,
we're on a bit of a hiatus on that one right now. We're building other things.
Okay, but there's a wait list. It says join wait list.
We'll build it again. We'll build it again.
Did you see the silver screen edition on that too?
I did. I was actually I was
buried. We haven't really promoted it, so we did end up making. I guess I'll give a shout out to Great American Gaming. They made 5. They're making some black and white toppers for sale, and they acquired 5 toppers from us. They're black and white editions. They're going to be coming with that game when you buy it. It'll be expensive, I'm sure, but we've got some available. And we actually have a wall version that has actually a working clock, and you can flip a little switch and make the ball go. So we sell quite a few of them to just collectors who used to own the game.
Wall art thing. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So
Okay,
um, if you don't have Twilight Zone and you want to pay homage to the amazingness of that game, you can get a wall version of our topper.
It's really, and actually the Big Lebowski too. I saw there's a wall art version
we got
of
a
the Big
wall one of that
Lebowski.
as
So,
well.
so you can definitely experience your stuff if you don't have the games.
For sure.
All right. Is there anything we didn't cover that you guys are just like this? You got to know about this before we shut this down.
No, I mean, I think we got most of anything.
I would, the EM topper that we're going to be doing. I think it's fun to throw a shout out to Rob Burke. He's been pushing for 2 years for us to do an EM topper. And if you know Rob, you can imagine how those conversations went.
Yep. Yep.
He is like the, I don't know, epitome of why I love this hobby so much. He's just such a crazy, eccentric guy. Just never afraid to share an opinion, especially when you don't ask for one. And he really pushed us to do this EM topper. And I think it came out amazing. I just can't wait for him to see it and to be there when he gets to see it and actually show that we did this for him. And, we'll see if it actually sells, but it's going to be a fun reveal at the very least. So make sure people come by the booth to check that out for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, some of the old school things are great. Like I totally forgot about this, but I remembered it when I saw the clip at the end of Superman 2 when he goes in and attacks the bully. Do you guys remember this scene? He like puts him on a tray and then throws him down the bar, and the guy crashes into a pinball machine, and the back of the pinball machine is the donkey like kicking his head. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see. You want to see that kind of stuff.
How come they haven't made a classic Superman game like that? It's just like criminal.
It's
sell.
Criminal. That is a perfect word.
Yeah, all you need the music and you need Christopher Reeve. That's pretty much it.
You hit that start button and that soundtrack hits, I'm in. I'll slide a blank check across the table. Enter a number you feels fair.
All right, so our audience has been listening this whole time. If you want them to get a hold of you for their topper ideas or for questions or even buying, how do they get a hold of you guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're on all the stuff, right? Pinside, of course, our website. We've got a contact form. A lot of people will get a hold of us there if they've got like a special request. We don't do like one-off toppers, but if you've got an idea, we'd love to hear about that. Instagram, we've got quite a bit going on there, and Facebook as well. So anywhere, but mainly you can find all that through the Electric Playgrounds website, which is teppinball.com.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And if you want to get a hold of us, we are Loser Kid Pinball Podcast at gmail.com. You can get a hold of us on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, Twitch. I guess X and Twitter are the same thing. Also, if you haven't been noticing, we've been sporting our Loser Kid gear in support of Attack from Mars. We got the Loser Kid attacks, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to get that, silverballswag.com/loserkid, shoes, all that jazz. The hat list is now officially closed. We're no longer taking orders for that. We might have some extra expo. So if you missed out, run into us, say, hey, I want a hat. See if we can get one.
You can still get hats. We can send them to you, but we just won't have them ready for expo.
Exactly. So Scott, give us our last word.
I'd like to thank Rob and Alec for coming on, and absolutely go check out this Attack from Mars topper. And if you want to get a better Godzilla topper, check out their Godzilla topper. And we'll see you guys at Expo.
This just in, reports are coming in from all over the world.
Greetings, Earthling! Watch out, man. They've got a big old beam. Look out! Martian! Run away! Jackpot!
Go for the extra ball.
Extra ball! Get the troops ready.
You cannot defeat our force field.
Well done, soldier. Total annihilation! Woohoo!
The universe!
Get every available man. The fate of the world is in your hands.